line ball is taken quickly. Aidan Ryan back to Shane O'Neill, putting Cork on the attack. This could be very dangerous. Horgan gets the lovely flick onto Harnedy, in on goal. Goal on here for Cork. Harnedy takes a shot. What a save by Stephen O'Keefe. Who could have saved it, only Saki?
Yeah, I'd safely say that'll be goal or save of the season. That was a fabulous save.
You've seen it close hand. This guy's unbelievable reflexes.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he does the difference. You know, he's just a brilliant keeper.
Well won inside by Fives as well. Super play by the pig farmer, the truly Irish farmer. Gets it to Jamie Byrne, and the UCC student from 4 Mile Water sends it over the bar. But credit there for Shane Fives. Did all the spray work. Gave it to Jamie Byrne. Lovely finish by the 4 Mile man. 8 points to 5. Well done, Shane Fives.
Yeah, absolutely. Great catch. But what a game Jamie Byrne is having in the middle of the field. He's all over the place.
Cleared upfield by Murphy, cut at the other end by Austin Gleeson, in front of Ardán O'Reilly, coming down in front of the Ard Corla. Oh, that super play by the Mount Sign star from the sideline. That is a super score. Ken McGrath was doing that in 98, but in 2015 is the young Mount Sign man of the future, Austin Gleeson. What a score for that.
Oh, what a score, and you know, what an inspirational score, and that's what you get from Austin Gleeson. What a talent he's going to be.
Bottom the puck out to Bennett. Bennett has a look. Bennett takes his shot, and Bennett sends it over the bar. Great score by the Ballysaggart man. The UL student there, fighting up in the first half. Hasn't got a lot of ball. Won that ball well. Showed great confidence. Turned over the bar. Great score, Stephen Bennett.
Yeah, fabulous stick work and fabulous hands there. Just touched it out of Lorcan McLaughlin's hand.
Moran wins that ball in front of a packed Ardán O'Reilly over on the far side. Ball now won by Waterford. Lovely play by Pádraig Mahoney on the run, and Mahoney sends it over the bar. His second point from play, an important one. A while since Waterford have scored, but that super play by the WIT student and the Ballygunner man, keeping up that family tradition with a super score. 16-10, Pádraig Mahoney at his very best. Austin Gleeson takes his time with this one. It's a line ball to Gleeson, 55 metres out. Will he go? Well capable of putting it over. Got a beauty in the first half. Will he lob it in around the edge of the square? Big Morris is around the edge of the square, and so is also Tom Devine. Takes his time with this one. Oh, catches it brilliantly in towards Morris. Can Morris get a hand in this one? Knocks it down for himself. 12 metres out. Morris still going forward. Morris trying to turn it back to Devine. Devine takes his shot. Oh, it's a goal! Back at the net for Waterford, and Tom Devine has beaten Anthony Nash there. Won by Morris Shanahan, knocked down, and the Delegate man beats the Kanturk man in the goal.
Yes, great memories there of Waterford's 2015 league final win over Cork. That montage put together by our late colleague here in WLR, Kevin Casey. It was a campaign where the Déise went from zeros to heroes, and on the sideline throughout it all was Derek McGrath. And Derek, listening back to those clips, what sort of memories does it bring back for yourself?
Yeah, hard not to be nostalgic about it. Great memories, very good campaign. You know, on the back of probably a very tough first campaign for myself personally and for the team, I suppose, as a whole. So probably came into the 2015 campaign a little bit under the radar, and were able to build nicely from 1B, if you like, to kind of bonus territory at quarter-final stage, and then, you know, to annex the league on the back of the momentum we gained was really great. But fond memories, because, as I said, we're not laden down with National League or national titles in Waterford, so have a small association with one is a nice feeling all the same.
Yeah, it was only Waterford's third league title, Derek. What were the big moments in that match against Cork, do you think, that turned the game in your favour?
Yeah, I think we've got a good start anyway. You know, if I recollect, we got a good start in the game in terms of, you know, crucial moments. I suppose it was a crucial moment in the first half, having gained some momentum early on, where Stephen O'Keefe made a fabulous save from Shamie Harnedy. He was probably in the peaks there that I heard earlier on. And the other noticeable thing, I suppose, was the fact that, you know, we had in the semi-final of the same year in Nolan Park, we kind of had come back from a kind of 6 or 7 point deficit against Tipperary, and there seemed to be just a kind of an innate belief, you know, inherent with the lads in terms of, you know, going about the league. And there was no case of, because we were playing Cork 5 weeks later or 3 weeks later, I can't remember, 5 weeks later in the championship, there was no case of either team, I think, approaching it with a sense of, sure, we're playing each other in a Munster Championship. We really went at it, and Cork went at it as well. And I suppose, tactically, it was the first year in terms of 15 that we had kind of, we had refused to leave Tadhg follow his man, something like maybe Waterford had done even last year in 2020, if you like, just leaving him stay kind of zonal there, and leaving the half forward line come very deep, and Colin Dunford was given the freedom of the field. So I think it was noticeable early on in the game, and Cork were following our forwards around, which opened up a good bit of space for Morris, if you like, and for Stephen Bennett, I think, and for even for Austin to attack from wing back. You see Callum Lyons and you see the boys attacking from wing back, but the fulcrum for our victory that day was probably very similar to what's in evidence now, which is attacking wing backs coming from deep and notching a couple of scores there. So the bedrock for all our performances that year was probably that half back line of Austin and Tadhg and Philip Manny. So they did really well that day, I remember.
From the start, Derek, you seem to be ahead of other teams fitness-wise in the league. When you think back, what did you put the players through on the training field that winter to get them ready for that league campaign?
Yeah, well, I suppose there was a couple of things happening to us in that there was obviously the tough year of 14, which results in a number of decisions. Then I suppose around there's a certain amount of omissions, I suppose, high-profile omissions. That I suppose as a management we made tough decisions. Tough decisions that maybe perhaps didn't make sense to the public. We just felt we need to go a different direction, and so it was a winter of discontent probably in Waterford in terms of rumblings of discontent from the outside of the circle, but very much on the inside of the circle. We just agreed, and we got great cooperation at the time actually from the board to kind of go back at it early. And Fergal O'Brien came in as physical trainer, Fergal, former Camogie manager, and look, he just put his stamp on the boys straight away. We had just kind of I won't say an old school winter, but we had a winter where, because of the trajectory of the team, because the team were down, if you like, and again, similar to last year, we were able to kind of ask the team to go through the rigours for the whole winter. And we often did double sessions. We often did a double session on a Saturdays. We trained in the morning in Gary Walsh's gym, and then Fergal would bring him to the gallops in Kilmac. We tightened the circle, if you like, and we had no choice but to come out. And what happened from a media point of view is the media pressure was off us, because the general consensus or the general narrative was that Waterford are building for the future because they've introduced, the Bennetts, and they've brought some of the minor winning team into the panel so that they won't come to fruition until a few years. But we were kind of feeling as a management that, hey, we actually have some really good young players here, and so that took a bit of pressure off us. So I think a combination of the trajectory, as I said, the team were on, that the only way was type up amongst people, the pressure off from scrutiny, etc., and the fact that we had a really, really good, hungry bunch of players. Like, we trained Christmas Day of that year. Again, not just felt we needed a psychological and physical edge, and Fergal certainly gave us that. And I think psychologically we really just tightened the group. We had a couple of good social days out over Christmas, and people might find that unusual in the middle of a really, really good physical preparation. But we just became a really tight group, and we just had to come out fighting, and thankfully we did in the first match against Limerick, which is probably, looking back on it, was probably the catalyst for a good couple of years.
Yeah, there's a lot of fascinating stuff in that answer, and Derek, there's one thing I want to ask you about in particular. What did you do with the team on the gallops?
Yeah, we were. Well, it was. To be honest with you, it was very, very accessible to us, because Pádraig Prendergast, that's involved in our backroom team in the water from Kilmac, he was able to gain access to the gallops in Kilmacthomas there, and basically it was kind of a 1.5 kilometre run up on lovely mulched where the horses run out. I'm not sure the name of this. It's Bobby's Stables. I can't remember the actual name of the actual person that owns the gallops, but thank God it was available. So it was just basically time trial kind of runs. So you're up there in groups of 6 from the bottom to the top, and the boys could repeat them over 12 times, and this would be on the back of a morning gym session. Now, scientifically, some people would argue that it's not the most scientific, but we just felt, given the nature of the train, of where the group needed to go, that they needed to go to a certain kind of point of not torture, which is the wrong word, but a certain point of, perseverance. And we were certainly in agreement with Fergal in terms of what needed to be done. And Fergal was very well able to mix the science as the year went on as well in terms of the whole approach. So it was great. It was great kind of, memories from the Gallops, I have to say. Easy for us as management up at the top, roaring them on to us, but a little bit harder as you made your way up.
Sounds very Jorlochnan-esque, Derek, if you don't mind me saying. But heading into the first game against Limerick away, as you mentioned there, like, expectations were pretty low. But Paddy Prendergast grabbed a very, very late equaliser for you. Did that draw almost feel like a win that night?
It did, because there was a number of things, I suppose, that were not on trial that night, but for the first time. I think it was Valentine's night actually that night, and I think it was live on Setanta Sports at the time, or Air Sports now as its own. And Jamie was being tried in the middle of the field for the first time. We played a couple of really good challenge matches before Christmas where we had kind of got a couple of nuggets. We played Clare, we played Dublin, we played Clare in a brilliant challenge match actually the week before, a very highly volatile match in 6 Mile Bridge the Saturday before we played Limerick. We had a trial run. We went down to Limerick. We were fed in Limerick. We had a kind of a trial run of what would happen the following Saturday. And I remember again at the end of 2014, Jamie was contemplating going to America, and I kind of said, listen, we'd like to build a team around you midfield. And he was kind of, he was saying, Jesus, I'm not sure. Not that he wasn't sure, but he liked the sound of it, I think, and he just wanted to see it coming into fruition. I remember being in the dressing room at half time that night. I think we were a number of points up, actually. We were ahead in that game. And I just remember saying to Jamie, Jamie, this is the reason he didn't go to America. Jamie was dominating Paul Brown. He was, he was just brilliant in the middle of the field. It was our first glimpse of him as a senior inter-county player in the middle of the field, the footwork, etc. And Austin was at wing back, and Austin was actually tasked that night with actually man marking Keane Lynch. Austin scored a point off Keane Lynch, I think, in the first half from play, and just there was a bit of freshness to the team. Tom Devine was on the edge of the square. I think I'm right. Brian O'Halloran was playing. Brick was up in the forwards for the first time. And there was a freshness to the team. And Tadhg was making his kind of debut at centre back as opposed to corner and wing back the previous year. So that was the approach with the Limerick match. And I think Richie McCarthy got a late score to put them a point up. And I think Paddy Prendergast. But it felt there was we needed to get a result on the board that would kind of, I suppose, not appease supporters, but would give us the sense of belief as well that this thing could go in the right direction from here,
And you really picked up momentum from there, Derek. You had wins over Laois, Offaly, Antrim. You had that winner-takes-all game away to Wexford, won a league quarter-final then at home to Galway. And I want to fast-forward to the league semi-final up in Nolan Park. Tipperary got 2 first-half goals, went 7 points up, but she came back and managed to win it by 1 point in the end. How important was it for the group to get over the line in that manner?
Yeah, I think in the manner that you've just described, that is to go 6-7 points down, having been the talk of the league up to that in terms of how we'd gone, that this is a good news story in terms of how Waterford have readjusted and how they're going about their business. To be able to deal with the hammer blows, I think Bonner-Mara got 1. I'm not sure who got the second. Could be Bubbles Dwyer, actually. To deal with that, to be able to refocus, to be able to reset, and to be able to stick with what we were doing at the time, which was just essentially or effectively playing with a third midfielder and playing with a deep half forward line and asking Colin to go everywhere, I suppose, and be in on puck. So conventional but unconventional. Be able to stick with it. It was just very telling to be able to kind of, I think Colin Dunford got a great goal actually in the second half. And actually, if you watch back that clip, it's a really good evidence of what the lads were doing. I think Pádraig Manny actually, Kevin Moran got the kind of hook in on Jason Ford, and Kevin is playing at midfield and he's back in his own 20 or back in his own 45, and Pádraig Manny's back in his own 45, and our whole forward line are actually back inside the Tipperary half, with the exception of Colin and a couple of other lads up front, and Colin then he uses his pace to get past, and he has a little daisy cutter along under Darren Gleeson, I think, actually, and yeah, just got a bit of momentum now. And I always remember a standout moment for that was the very end of the game where I think we got not a little bit fortunate. The rules were applied properly, and I remember Tommy Burns, one of the guys that a great member of our backroom team, alerted. I think it's Barry Kelly. I'm not sure. I think Barry Kelly was refereeing to the fact that Paul had hit the kind of end sideline kind of upright or flag, if you like, and that's deemed a sideline cut then, as opposed to a 65 to Tipperary, and from the subsequent sideline, the referee blew it up, and so we got that, I suppose, little rub of the green that we were searching for probably in the previous year when we got 4 points, but we're still relegated despite having a kind of same amount of points as that would keep you up in other years,
Yeah, like you mentioned Kevin Moran there, Derek, like there were so many stand-up performers in that campaign, but that day against Tipperary, he just left it all out there on the pitch. Why did he come to the fore in that campaign alongside Jamie Barron and for the years that followed as well?
Well, he did for the obvious reasons that people have espoused about him over the years, warrior, leader, etc. But I think what Kevin does is he particularly is good at producing when there's doubt in the air, and not doubt about himself, but doubt in the air as to where the whole thing is going. And he's a guy that when he's with you, and so he just, not alone is he completely personally driven, but in terms of the collaboration that's involved with the team process, he's just, he took it on, and he was captain in 15, and ironically he wasn't captain in 14 because there was some sort of paranoia in me that felt that going in as a De La Salle man in charge of Waterford in 2014, that would be better perhaps for the optics almost, which is an awful thing to say as a manager, to kind of say, I'll take the burden of club mates being away from me. And I realised something at the end of 14 in that I could actually now free Brick up from the pressures of captaincy and reinstate Kevin into the job that he is best at, when he's leading, when he's driving the whole operation. Jamie was to the forefront for because I think there was a freshness to his positioning where he was playing for the first time. I think there was a novelty to that. I think the old-fashioned kind of big midfielder and small midfielder, or two big midfielders was gone when Chaffetz Patrick came along, and over the years, and Richie Hogan had been very good in the middle of the field in 14 for Kilkenny, and I just think Jamie brings something different to the middle of the field in terms of his footwork, his speed, his hurling, and his scoring prowess from there. So I think that what happened with Jamie, I think, was a sense of kind of a new positioning where a guy, when he tries somewhere else, he can blossom. I think that's what happened with the two lads, and they certainly drove it on from the middle of the field and did for a number of years afterwards, and still are, thank God.
Yeah, like Kevin Moran is still going strong, Derek. I think with Conan Keeney's retirement this year from the Dublin setup, he's now the longest serving inter-county hurler in the country at 34. Why is he still going so strong?
Well, I've mentioned some of the qualities already in terms of perseverance and in terms of will, and in terms of, I call it an iron will that he has. He's like nothing I've known before. And I was lucky enough when I was manager of the Fela team in 1999. He was under 12 at that stage, actually. So I've been involved with him effectively since he's 11 years of age, all the way through school and into inter-county and the club as well. So perseverance. And I think one thing about Kevin that stands out that people might know, he's never afraid to fail, And I think Kevin could slip off into the sunset at any stage, and have be revered, rightly so, in his club and in Waterford. But he loves. First of all, he loves it, and he has a passion for what he's doing, and he's always improving, and he always wants to improve himself. So he's great qualities, like he's inherent great qualities, but he has a drive and a willingness, as I said, to not worry about perception, if you like, to not worry about people saying, Jesus, maybe Kevin is there 15 years, maybe it's time. Like it's Kevin was outstanding last year for Waterford in the championship, and is an outstanding hurler in the local club championship, and so there's no reason for him not to continue. And as I said, the inherent personal reasons are perseverance, loves doing it. It's part of a really good setup there at the moment, where he's been driven, where he's been challenged. Kevin is perfectly balanced between the whole support and challenge kind of, I suppose, quandary that people find themselves in. He loves to be challenged, and he loves good support as well. And he has that from Aoife and his kids and his mum and dad, and Aoife's mum and dad as well. And he has all support from family services, our family, as I said, that allow him to do that as well. But he just loves it. But he's certainly a role model for us in the school here in De La Salle, in that ahead of the All-Ireland this year, we would have spoken even on the intercom about what he brings to every match and how much he come in on a Monday morning after it could be a harrowing defeat or it could be a big victory in Waterford or De La Salle, and no airs and graces, laced with humility. Great example to all our boys in school, and as would Philip Manny over the years, and Philip is in teaching with us as well, and as with all those Waterford lads, the best of lads really, and Kevin is top of the pile certainly.
Yeah, very well said, Derek, and he's still very much part and parcel of Liam Cahill's set-up demand that led Waterford up the steps there in that league victory in 2015. And I just want to ask you about this year's league campaign, Derek, before you go, because thankfully we have a league to look forward to next month. And I just want to ask you about what will Liam Cahill and the other managers be looking to get out of these 5 matches before the championship starts in the summer?
Well, I think, if you work back the way, in that he won't come up against Clare, which is the first team that he'll be playing in the championship. So that allows for a real kind of sense of, right, we can approach this we can train really, really hard, which they do anyway under Mikey Beavis. They train really intensely, and they'll want to keep the momentum of the run last year going. So I think it's an ideal scenario for Waterford, in that you have Cork away, I think you have Westmeath at home, I think you have a sequence of games then that involves Limerick and Tip and Galway. I'm not sure what order they're in. So the likelihood is, if you think, Liam and Mikey, even though they'll tell you it's the one game at a time, which every manager will do, if you work back the way from the proposed games, Clare in the championship and possibly Tipperary once we get over Clare, and that's not a gimme either. Nothing is a gimme in Munster Championship. So I'm not going to contradict what I said when I was involved myself. There's no, and everyone involved at that level will know that. So you can work back to it that the potential next opponent is Tipperary. So, it counts. It'll be different, I think. I think what Waterford will want to get off to a kind of a winning start in Cork, will want to maybe embed 3 or 4 of the possible, additions to the panel each time. But by match 3, 4 even, 4 and 5, I think they'll want to get into the rhythm of their team. So I think you'll see a bit of experimentation. I'm only guessing now. I'm only speculating like everybody else. Maybe match 1, 2, and 3. A bit of kind of, as I said, a little bit of kind of maybe perhaps just trying out some guys, experimentation, if you like. And by match 3, 4, and 5, you could be in a situation where you can kind of start bedding in your team, if you like, and maybe you're back to the, are you back at that stage to Billy Nolan or Sean O'Brien on goal? Are you back to Shane McNulty, Conor Prunty, Ian Kenny? Are you going to, because you'll be without Tyke for the league section, possibly some of the championship, are you going to go with Irla based on his performance last year? Are you going to relocate somebody in the half-back line? And is Caleb Lyons possibly going to be slipped to midfield? I'd say all these things are part of the nuggets that they like to pick up from the league. And I think they'll use that, because the threat of relegation is probably non-existent, given the fact that, with all due respect, Westmeath will probably be bottom of the group in the group that Waterford are in. And, winning the league involves topping the group. So there's not the same, without the prestige associated with a semi-final, a quarter-final, semi-final, final winning is probably gone. So I think it's a real good chance for a management to get it right ahead of the Clare showdown.
Well, Derek McGrath, an absolute pleasure to talk to you as always. Thanks so much for your memories of the 2015 league, and hopefully we'll chat to you again very soon.
Mind yourselves, Moss. Thank you.
Toss on down on Cornshaw Glocke, a Cunday Port Loriga. We started out 6 months ago, got back training early days, and it's all that hard training that makes scenes like today worth every run, every sweat, every blood, every tear. And I'd like to especially thank the Waterford people. The scene I can see out here is something I've never dreamed of as a player, and hopefully this is the start of a great time for Waterford hurling.
Now you're hurling. Lorna Porca with Tomas McCarthy on WLR.